Just when you think they aren't going to steal your idea. Hello and welcome back to my writing journey. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of Crook Tales for Two, an Art Deco mystery, and 13 other novels and short stories and stories for children. In addition to that, I'm a former reporter who worked in Washington, D.C., covering job safety and health. Every week I produce a video on some aspect of writing, sometimes tips, insights, or even gossip on current events in the writing industry. If that appeals to you, feel free to subscribe and to like. Today, I am thinking about those exceptions that prove the rule. Just when you think people aren't going to steal your ideas, or even your things. Sometimes they do. This prompted early memories of mine as a playwright and the pervasive fear that people would steal SASE postage when we all snail mailed our scripts to theaters. If you don't know, SASE stands for Self-Addressed Stamped Envelope. You routinely included one with your work so the theater could return your materials when they rejected you, adding injury to insult. But I heard playwrights say it was pointless to include the SASE because the theaters never returned your scripts and just stole the stamps. I never believed it. Well, not until I had first-hand knowledge of a small, eternally impoverished theater that actually did cut the stamps off the SASE and used them and taped them onto their own mail. I know someone who worked for that theater and witnessed it. And a playwright would never get their script back, also adding insult to theft. This could add up to a lot of money lost on your script because you Xeroxed the script at Kinko's. Even on sale, it was a chunk of money, and the stamps were first class or media mail. So sometimes they do steal things. It's much easier now with just pushing a button and sending it via computer. Now, taking a turn to the subject at hand, just when you're convinced that people aren't out to steal your ideas, a literary agent makes a poor judgment call and tweets that she's seeking a writer to produce a book prompted by an idea from a different writer's pitch. But keep in mind that ideas are not copyrightable. In the last few weeks, a story circulated about an agent, and I won't mention her name because she's already apparently lost her job over this nonsense. And she announced on Twitter that she read a query and made it sound very high concept. The road meets deliverance. And I have no idea what that would result in, except violence. She loved the idea and she wanted someone to write it. The first question, of course, is, why didn't she ask the author who submitted the query? Second, why choose to humiliate the original writer this way, in such a public way? Oh, it was such a good idea, but that person isn't up to the task of writing that idea to the agent's picky specifications. Did the agent not stop and think about it? Think that a 30-second tweet would have such intense ramifications? The reaction on social media was strong, immediate, and condemning. It was extremely poor judgment on the agent's part, and you wonder how effective she was as an agent. Did she protect her clients? Is she even a nice person? I suppose it doesn't matter if she's nice, if she's effective. We live in an increasingly cruel world, and we want results, and we don't care on whose feet we step. Once, in New York, perhaps 10 years ago, I was eating lunch with my husband in a cafe that was just across the street from Random House, before the merger, and we overheard a conversation between an agent and a book editor. How did we hear it? They were talking very loudly. Unfortunately, every so often the music would swell over our heads, and I would lose part of that conversation, that very interesting conversation. The gist was that the agent loved an unusual book from one particular writer, but she knew she couldn't sell it. Why not? Who knows? So the agent asked the author to write a different book, another book, but she kept making her write draft after draft. Well, do you think maybe the writer's heart wasn't in it at that? It wasn't her idea, and the agent should have tried to sell the original book if she loved it so much. Maybe someone would have loved it as much as she did. Maybe it was not unsellable. Maybe it could have been published. What I remember most is how they cackled over the poor writer having to write draft after draft that was deemed unworthy. They were really amused. I was horrified, but I am that way. Still horrified. In the case of the agent who took the writer's idea to Twitter, I can't help but empathize with the author who thankfully wasn't named. He or she would feel foolish and duped. And because this episode spread across Twitter and Threads and onto online articles, it may convince new authors that they are right all along, that people are out to steal your ideas and give them to somebody else. Well, now, we all make mistakes, and many of them we can live down in a day or a week or a month. But some mistakes hang on and hound us forever. For some people, that one mistake can lose them their job or ruin their life, especially in the age of social media where the reaction can be devastating and long-lasting. What are the agent's chances of getting a new job? Would you trust her? Yes? No? Maybe? However, this is why it might not matter in the long run. You cannot copyright ideas. You can only copyright the expression of the idea, the author's unique way of writing, their words and sentence structure, and the way they spin the idea and take it to far-off shores, different places, and higher levels. It is true that if you give a handful of authors the same idea to write, they will come up with vastly different stories. At least I hope so. Written from their own unique perspective, language, and way of expressing themselves. And that is what should catch an agent's eyes. Not how high concept it is, a concept that will soon be forgotten. So ignore the naysayers, the agents who pass you by, and write your own stories. From your heart to the page. Best of luck. That's all I have for today, and I will see you next time. Bye.